friends, Krista here. Thanks so much for stopping by Books and Jams yet again today. I am here to share with you all of the books that I have hauled so far in the month of February. I'm not expecting any more books to come, so this might be all that I get this month, and that's totally fine. There are 17 books here, and I'm just going to jump right in and share with you what I've brought into my home this month. The first ones I'm going to talk to you about are from my Book of the Month picks. I was super excited when I saw that The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna was one of the choices for Book of the Month. This is going on a TBR very soon. I'm keeping it out on the shelf. I want to read it right away. This was one of my most anticipated reads for the winter, and it is set during the Great Depression in the Dust Bowl in the Plains area of the United States. And I think we follow a young woman named Elsa. She and her family have a farm there. I don't know what happens to her family, but she has to decide, is she going to try to stay on the farm, or is she going to move west in the midst of the Great Depression? I've already heard some really high praise for this one. I can't wait to read it. And because a couple of you used my link that's always down below to sign up for Book of the Month and give it a try, I had some extra credits. So I purchased The Sunken Motel by Simone St. James. I'm a little nervous about this one, but I read The Broken Girls by her in 2020 and absolutely loved it. And people said, you need to try The Sunken Motel. And it has potential ghost situation, and I'm not always a big fan of that, but I loved Simone St. James's writing, so I'm willing to give her another shot. So I picked up this one. And then just another one that I had heard a lot of praise for is The Reckless Oath We Made by Greenwood. A lot of people had this on their best of the year lists in 2019, I believe. And so it's just a book that has caught my interest. Just the quick little summary tagline at the top here says, a provocative love story between a tough Kansas woman on a crooked path to redemption and her unlikeliest of champions. And I believe one of the main characters in here is on the autistic spectrum and speaks only in like medieval English type of a thing. Something along those lines. So I feel like it's going to be a little bit strange, a little odd, but also I've heard people say that it's just so good. So I threw that into my Book of the Month box as well. I did stop at a little free library a couple weeks ago, and I found 2 Newbery books there. So I picked up Sounder by William H. Armstrong and Shiloh by Phyllis Reynolds Naylor. Shiloh movies were among the favorites of my younger siblings when they were little. So I have seen the Shiloh movies quite a few times. But I've never read the book. So I'm excited to have 2 more to add to my Newbery shelf. I was sent one book by a lovely subscriber and I believe a patron, if I'm thinking of the right Kate. This is sent to me by Kate and it was on my Amazon wish list, and it's The Henna Artist. And this cover is stunning by Elka Joshi. And I think this is about a young woman, 17-year-old Lakshmi, is trying to escape from an arranged and abusive marriage in the 1950s in a small village in India. And she becomes a henna artist and confidant, most in demand to the wealthy women of the upper class. Vivid and compelling in its portrait of one woman's struggle for fulfillment in a society pivoting between traditional and the modern, the henna artist opens a door into a world that is at once lush and fascinating, stark and cruel. I have not heard too many people talk about this book, but the few people that I have said that they really liked it, and I'm just very intrigued to learn about another part of the world that I just don't know that much about. So I'm very excited for this one. The last few books here are all from another Book Outlet order, guys. I had no intentions of placing another order on Book Outlet, but when I saw that they had the book that we were choosing for our middle grade March group read, I was like, of course I'm going to place an order. And then I had to keep looking in order to get the free shipping because I can't just order one book from Book Outlet. So I ended up buying a handful. So let me show you. First of all, of course, I grabbed The Brave by James Bird. This is our group read for middle grade March. It's in own voices. James Bird is half Ojibwe, and so is our main character, Colin. And we follow Colin, who has some form, I think, of OCD, where he counts all the letters of the words that are spoken to him, and he has to say that number out loud. His father has a hard time relating to him. He keeps getting kicked out of schools and being bullied. His father sends him to live on the Ojibwe reservation with his mother. And I'm just really, really excited for this. And I've heard such high praise. I cannot wait to read it next month in March, hopefully with many of you. I did, of course, pick up a few more middle grade, 3 more middle grade. One of them is The Lace Maker and the Princess. This is by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. I know nothing about the story, but I do know that I love KBB and I want to read everything that she's ever written. So I grabbed that one. I also picked up Forge by Laurie Halse Anderson. I did have Chains and Ashes. Forge is number 2 in the trilogy, and I didn't have this one yet. So when I saw it on Book Outlet, I grabbed it. This is one that I may try to read through this March, all 3 of them, and just knock out the trilogy. But I've heard such high praise for this trilogy, so I'm glad to have all 3 of them now. And then this last middle grade one is one that I've already read, and it's The Night Diary by Veera Hiranandani. And this is so interesting. It's set during the time when India and Pakistan separate. And we follow one family who lives, I believe, on the Pakistani side, but because of their religious orientation, decide to travel and move over to the Indian side of that dividing line that gets drawn. But so they end up leaving family and friends, and it's just heartbreaking and beautifully written. And it is written in journal format, journal entries of our main character. I thought this was a beautiful read and definitely one that I wanted to have on my shelves. I picked up another book that is part of a trilogy. Someone just recently sent me The Bookshop on the Shore, and I already read The Bookshop on the Corner, and I believe this is the 3rd one in that trilogy, 500 Miles from You by Jenny Colgan. So now I can read through the rest of those. Another author pick I grabbed by Julie Berry, All the Truth That's in Me. I now have quite a few Julie Berry books that are unread. I did read and love Lovely War. I also have a middle grade, The Emperor's Ostrich, and The Scandalous Sisterhood of Pickwillow Place, I believe is Julie Berry. And then this one, All the Truth That's in Me. But I don't think this one is middle grade. I think this is more YA along the same lines of Lovely War. So I believe this one is... involves 2 friends who disappeared 4 years ago, Judith and her best friend. 2 years later, only Judith returned, but she's unable to speak and is ignored by those who were her friends, who were once her friends and family. And she's forced to make a choice to continue to live in silence or recover her voice, even if it means changing her world and the lives around her forever. Whoa, what happens? This sounds like there's a bit of a mystery involved here. Yeah, this sounds really good. And I'm interested in reading more Julie Berry. Then I have 2 that I grabbed because of recommendations from other people. So the first one is The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. This one comes on the recommendation of Lindsay from Lindsay's Little Library. I heard her talk about this around Christmas time, and this is a retelling of A Christmas Carol. So Holly Chase kind of has an opportunity to change her life, and she decides not to. And then instead of going to heaven or hell or whatever, she has an opportunity to come back and help other people make better choices or something along those lines. A retelling of Scrooge and that whole story. So I think that will be a fun one to read around Christmas time this year. Much later this year. The other one that I picked up based on a recommendation, I love this cover, is Greenwood by Michael Christie. And I think this is a multi-generational kind of family drama told in a very unique structure. And it has to do with like the rings of the trees. So we're kind of going forward in time. Oh my word. Look at this. Look at the spine, the paper edges. Look at the edges of that. It's like wood. That is so cool. So let's see. This one starts in the future. They come for the trees. It is 2038. As the rest of humanity struggles through the environmental collapse known as the Great Withering, scientist Jacinda, or Jake Greenwood, is working as an overqualified tour guide on Greenwood Island, a remote oasis of 1,000-year-old trees located off the coast of British Columbia. Jake had thought the island's connection to her family name was just a coincidence until someone from her past reappears with a book that might give her the family history that she's long craved. From here, we gradually move backwards in time to the years before the First World War, encountering the men and women who came before Jake, an injured carpenter facing the possibility of his own death, an eco-warrior determined to atone for the sins of her father's rapacious timber empire, a blind tycoon with a secret he will pay a terrible price to protect, a desperation-era drifter. Anyways, it goes through quite a few different people in her family throughout the generations. And at the very center of the book is a tragedy that will bind the fates of 2 boys together, setting in motion events whose reverberations we see unfold over generations as the novel moves forward into the future once more. So we start in the future, we go back in time, and then we go back out to the future, which is so interesting to me. Propulsive, beautifully written, and ingeniously structured like the nested growth rings of a tree. Greenwood reveals the knot of lies, omissions, and half-truths that exists at the root of every family's origin story. It is a magnificent novel of greed, sacrifice, love, and the ties that bind, and the hopeful, impossible task of growing towards the light. Whew! It sounds so good. It sounds like it's going to be heavy, and it possibly will like require me to apply a lot of attention. I might not be able to read this in conjunction with a bunch of other books all at once like I normally read. But yeah, I know Meredith from the Currently Reading podcast absolutely loved this. It was among her favorites of the year in 2020. So I definitely am very interested in reading it. And I love the shiny cover. The last three were total kind of cover buys. To beef up my total to get the free shipping. So I grabbed a romance, Love Like the Movies. This reminds me, this is by Victoria Van Tiem. This reminds me of Not Like the Movies by Carrie Winfrey that I read last summer and just enjoyed. It's just a rom-com type of a book. Shane tries to win Kenzie over by reenacting the rom-com movies they used to watch together. Sleepless in Seattle, Bridget Jones' Diary, Pretty Woman, and Dirty Dancing, to name a few. So it's going to involve a lot of rom-coms, and I'm totally down for that. Sounds like a good palate cleanser, light, fun read. And then these two are just stunning. This first one, I was totally captivated by this cover. It's black and white except for this butterfly. It's What the Night Sings, a novel by Vesper Stamper. I had never heard anyone talk about this. It does have some illustrations within, like full page illustrations, but also just illustrations on the side. I don't know if this is adult, middle grade. I don't know anything about it. I just love a book with some good illustrations, and it's blurbed on the back by Kristen Hanna, a tour de force. This powerful story of love, loss, and survival is not to be missed. I mean, sign me up for that. Let's see. Somehow we keep living. We just have to do it broken. Before she was taken away, Gerda played the viola every day, walked home from choir practice with her papa, and admired the beautiful dresses in her stepmother's closet. Before she was taken away, Gerda did not know that she was Jewish. 2 years later, Gerda's world has completely changed. The Nazis have destroyed everyone and everything in her life, and when Gerda is liberated from the concentration camp, she finds herself utterly bereft. So we have a World War II story with gorgeous illustrations and a stunning cover. It's a little wider than a normal book. I mean, this is just beautiful, and I'm positive it's going to make me cry. So pretty. And finally is more of a coffee table book, but I just love... I love taking pictures of flowers, and I have been to New York City so many times, and it's a stunning place to take really cool photography, and this is just New York in bloom. So this is one I will enjoy reading in the springtime, but it's just pictures of architecture and flowers and New York combined with some writing, mostly just pictures, and I haven't really looked through all of it. Yeah, there's some writing there just talking about flowers and New York City. I couldn't resist. And it's a printed hardcover, which I love. I just think this is going to be so pretty and fun to look at in the spring and keep on my coffee table. So this is more of a decorative book, but it was only a couple bucks on Book Outlet. How could I refuse? So that's it. Here are all the books. I've got them in one stack. Let's see. I don't know that I can get them all in frame, but here are all the books I'm hauling in February. Yes, they're all in there. I'm really excited about some of these. I'm super excited. I would love to chat with you down in the comments. Have you read any of these? Are any of them familiar to you? Are any new to you? Do any stand out to you? Are you adding any to your TBR? Have you thought about whether or not you're going to join us for Brave, reading The Brave in middle grade March? I'm really hoping that you decide to join in. That's all. Let's chat in the comments below. You guys know I love talking with you down there. Be sure to check out all the information about all the things, ways to connect with me, my Patreon page, Book of the Month, Book Outlet. I think that's everything. Thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you in another video very soon. Bye.